journey into one of the most monumental tales ever told. J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings.
Absolutely. It's a huge world.
It is. And we've got a fantastic source that kind of helps us navigate this vast world, its incredible narrative, our mission. Let's unpack the key moments, the surprising bits, and the themes that make this story endure. Okay, let's unpack this.
What's fascinating here, I think, isn't just the sheer scale of Middle-earth. This ancient land, it's teeming with diverse races, elves, dwarves, humans.
Right.
But it's how Tolkien makes it feel so real, so lived in. And right at the heart of it, you have this rising evil, Sauron and his magical One Ring threatening everything.
And the hero isn't some great warrior king at first.
No, not at all. It centers on this unassuming hobbit, Frodo Baggins. He's tasked with this burden, this tiny object that's going to shape the fate of the entire world. It's quite something.
It really is. And that burden where it all begins, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. It starts in the Shire, peaceful, idyllic.
Almost like a deliberate contrast.
Exactly. It kind of challenges that epic fantasy idea that everything important has to start in a grand castle or something. Here, the small folk are central right away. Frodo just inherits this mysterious gold ring from his Uncle Bilbo. His rather eccentric Uncle Bilbo.
Yeah, eccentric is one word for him. And it's Gandalf the Grey, the wizard, who figures it out. He pieces together the history, the signs.
And realizes it's not just some trinket.
Not at all. He reveals its true, terrifying nature. It's the One Ring, forged by Sauron way back when, specifically to, enslave the world.
So the stakes are immediately unbelievably high.
Immense. And Gandalf explained the only way to stop Sauron coming back fully is to destroy it. But you can't just, smash it.
Right, it has to go back to where it was made.
Exactly. The fires of Mount Doom, deep inside Mordor, Sauron's own backyard, basically. Talk about an impossible task. That's the catalyst.
So Frodo has to leave the Shire, but thankfully he doesn't start completely alone.
No, thank goodness. His friends are incredibly loyal.
He's got Samwise Gamgee, his gardener, who's just steadfast, and Pippin Took, Merry Brandybuck. Good friends.
Cheerful Pippin, brave Merry, yeah. But the danger is instant.
Oh, yeah. Those ring wraiths, the Black Riders, they're hunting them almost from the moment they leave. You can just feel the dread.
It's relentless.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have made it far without help. They run into this figure, Strider. Very mysterious at first.
Who turns out to be Aragorn.
Right, Aragorn, the heir to the throne of Gondor, but living in exile. He guides them, eventually, to Rivendell, the elven refuge.
And that leads to the Council of Elrond, a huge turning point.
It really is. You get representatives of all the free peoples there. Elves, dwarves, men, Gandalf, deciding what on earth to do with this ring.
And the decision is destruction.
Yes. And that's where the Fellowship is formed. It's quite symbolic, really. 9 companions to set out against the 9 riders.
Who's in the Fellowship again?
You've got the 4 hobbits, Frodo, Sam, Merry, Pippin. Then Gandalf, Aragorn, Legolas the elf, Gimli the dwarf.
An elf and a dwarf, famously not always friendly.
Exactly. And Boromir of Gondor, a man. So it's this diverse group representing, the hope of the world, really.
This incredible, maybe unlikely team sets out. And the trials start almost immediately. Brutal trials.
Oh, yeah. First major test is the Mines of Moria, an ancient dwarven city, but long fallen into darkness.
And that's where they face the Balrog.
Yes. Gandalf confronts this ancient demon of fire and shadow, a truly dramatic, pivotal moment.
He wins, but he falls. He sacrifices himself to save the others.
He does. Fly, you fools. It's devastating for the Fellowship. Losing their guide, their leader. It's the first real blow to their unity.
They must have been completely lost.
Reeling, absolutely. They escape Moria and find refuge for a time in Lothlorien, the Elven Wood.
Galadriel's realm.
Exactly. They get some healing there, some respite. And wisdom from Lady Galadriel. This is a really important moment for Frodo, personally. Well, I think it's here he really starts to grasp the sheer weight of the ring, not just physically, but the psychological burden, the temptation it represents. Galadriel sort of tests him, shows him glimpses.
And that temptation, that corrupting power, it doesn't just affect Frodo, does it?
No, and that's crucial. It affects even the noble ones, like Boromir.
Right. Boromir, son of the Steward of Gondor. Brave, proud, but flawed.
Deeply flawed, or perhaps just deeply afraid for his people. He sees the ring as a weapon, something to use against Sauron, and he tries to take it from Frodo by force.
So what does this all mean? I mean, for the group's unity, for Frodo's understanding of the danger?
It's a massive turning point. It shows Frodo and the reader just how insidious this thing is. It preys on desire, even, good desires like wanting to protect your home.
So Boromir cracking under the pressure.
It convinces Frodo he can't risk anyone else. He thinks the ring will eventually corrupt them all. So he decides right then he has to go on alone.
But he doesn't, does he?
No, because Samwise Gamgee, his loyalty is just absolute. He figures out what Frodo's doing and basically refuses to leave his side, wades into the river after him.
I'm going with you, Mr. Frodo.
Exactly that. It's incredibly moving. But that decision, Frodo trying to go alone and Sam insisting, that's what breaks the fellowship. They slip away and everyone else is scattered.
So while Frodo and Sam head towards Mordor, the paths diverge wildly. What happens to the others, Merry and Pippin?
They get captured, unfortunately.
Swept up by orcs, or Orcai actually, serving Saruman. They're being dragged towards Isengard.
Saruman, the other wizard who turned traitor.
The very same. But Merry and Pippin are resourceful. They manage to escape during a Rohirrim attack on the orcs.
And they run into Fangorn Forest.
Into Fangorn Forest, yes. Which is where they meet Treebeard, an Ent, an ancient tree shepherd.
Talking trees.
Basically, yes. And what's key here is that the Ents are usually very slow, very deliberate. But they find out Saruman has been cutting down their forests to fuel his war machine.
Bad move, Saruman. Yeah. Very bad move. The Ents get furious. This slow, ancient anger boils over, and they actually march on Isengard. They flood it, break the dams, tear down the walls. They essentially dismantle Saruman's power base. Nature striking back.
Wow. Meanwhile, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, they weren't captured.
No, they chose to pursue the orcs who took Merry and Pippin. That pursuit leads them into Rohan.
Land of the Horse Lords.
Right. And they find things are dire there too. King Theoden is under Saruman's influence, weak and despairing thanks to his advisor Grima Wormtongue.
But then Gandalf returns.
Gandalf returns. Not Gandalf the Grey anymore, but Gandalf the White. More powerful, more focused.
And he deals with Wormtongue pretty quickly.
He breaks Saruman's hold over Theoden, restores the king's will, and just in time because Saruman launches a massive army against Rohan.
Which leads to the Battle of Helm's Deep.
The great fortress. It's a desperate siege. The Rohirrims are vastly outnumbered. But they hold out with Gandalf's help and Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli fighting like heroes. They win, but it's a narrow victory, a sign of the larger war escalating.
Okay, so battles are raging, kingdoms are fighting for survival. Let's get back to Frodo and Sam. Their journey gets even harder, right?
Unimaginably harder.
Yeah.
They have to actually get into Mordor. The land itself is corrupted, twisted by Sauron's power, ash, dust, poisonous fumes.
And they pick up an unwanted guide.
Yes. Gollum, Smeagol, as he once was, a previous Ringbearer, utterly destroyed by it over centuries.
My precious.
That's him. He's drawn to the ring, obsessed. He promises to guide them through secret ways, into Mordor, past the main gates.
Can they trust him?
Sam definitely doesn't. Frodo is more conflicted. He feels a strange pity for Gollum, sees what the ring can do. But yeah, it's a deeply uncomfortable alliance.
Yeah.
Necessary maybe, but dangerous.
And the paths he leads them on, they're not exactly scenic routes.
No kidding. The dead marshes first, with the ghostly faces in the water. Past Minas Morgul, the terrifying city of the ring wraiths. Up treacherous mountain passes like Cirith Ungol.
And all this time, the ring.
The ring is getting heavier, not just physically, though it does seem to weigh more, but psychically. It's draining Frodo, tempting him more strongly the closer they get to Mount Doom. He starts to falter. Sam really has to carry the hope for both of them at times.
You can really feel that weight, that toll it's taking. And Gollum, he doesn't stay helpful, does he?
No. His obsession, his precious, overrides everything. He leads them deliberately into a trap.
Shelob's the lair.
Shelob, a monstrous spider, an ancient evil. She stings Frodo, paralyzes him with her venom.
And Gollum thinks he's won.
He does. And Sam. Sam thinks Frodo is dead. It's heartbreaking. But in that moment, Sam's loyalty, his hobbit sense takes over. He fights off Gollum. He even wounds Shelob with Frodo's sword's sting.
Incredible courage from Sam.
Absolutely incredible. Believing Frodo dead, he makes the decision to take the ring himself, to try and finish the quest.
Wow. But Frodo isn't dead.
No. The orcs find Frodo, realize he's just paralyzed, not dead, and carry him off to their tower near Cirith Ungol. Sam overhears them.
So now Sam has to mount a rescue mission.
A one-hobbit rescue mission against a whole tower of orcs. And he does it. She gets Frodo out. They get disguised in orc armor, and finally, they start the last, most desperate leg of the journey across the plains of Mordor towards Mount Doom. Just pure will keeping them going.
While they're struggling through Mordor, the main war reaches its peak, right?
Yes, the War of the Ring fully engulfs Middle-earth. Sauron unleashes his main armies from Mordor against Gondor,
Minas Tirith is under siege.
the Great White City. It's besieged. Denethor, the steward, falls into despair and madness. It looks bleak, very bleak.
But hope isn't entirely lost. Aragorn steps up.
He finally embraces his destiny. He takes the paths of the dead.
Ooh, creepy.
Very. He summons this spectral army of Oathbreakers, cursed warriors bound to help the heir of Isildur. With their help, he defeats Sauron's southern forces and sails up the river to relieve the siege of Minas Tirith,
A dramatic entrance.
turning the tide. Along with the arrival of the riders of Rohan and Gandalf's command, they win the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. A huge victory, but costly.
But even winning that battle doesn't stop Sauron if the ring isn't destroyed.
Exactly. They know this. Sauron still has vast power in Mordor,
Oh,
so they make a desperate gamble.
the March on the Black Gate?
Yes. Aragorn, Gandalf, the remaining leaders, they march with a small army, maybe 7,000, right up to the gates of Mordor. It looks like suicide,
Bet it's a distraction.
purely a distraction. To draw Sauron's eye, his attention away from Mount Doom, to give Frodo and Sam that one final tiny chance to sneak in and destroy the ring. It's an incredible act of faith in those two hobbits.
And they fight there against overwhelming odds.
A last, hopeless stand, seemingly. While inside Mordor,
Frodo and Sam reach Mount Doom, a cracks of doom.
they make it. Inside the volcano, the Samath Nor. Frodo is utterly spent, exhausted. Sam practically carries him up the last slope. They reach the edge of the fiery abyss.
The moment of truth.
And Frodo,
Yeah.
he can't do it. Everything, all the struggle, the ring's power is just too absolute right there at its source. He claims it. The ring is mine.
Oh no, after all that.
It looks like all is lost. But then, Gollum appears. He's followed him all the way, obsessed.
Still after his precious.
He attacks Frodo, desperate to get the ring back. And in the struggle, he bites Frodo's finger off, gets the ring.
He gets it.
And he's dancing, gloating, precious, precious. But in his frenzy, he steps too close to the edge.
It falls in.
He falls into the fire, taking the ring away with him. It's destroyed. Not by Frodo's will, ultimately, but by Gollum's own obsession. The ultimate irony.
Wow. Just wow. The ring is gone.
And the effect is instantaneous. Sauron's power was bound to the ring. Without it, he just dissipates, crumbles. His fortress Barad-dûr collapses. Mount Doom erupts violently.
Armies at the Black Gate.
Suddenly lose all direction, all will. They scatter in panic. The shadow lifts. You can almost feel the world take a breath. Peace, or the beginning of it, returns.
And Frodo and Sam, are they lost in the eruption?
It looks like it. They're stranded on a rock surrounded by lava. But Gandalf sends the great eagles. Gwaihir rescues them. They're hailed, rightly, as the saviors of Middle-earth.
So happy endings all around. Aragorn becomes king.
Aragorn is crowned King Elisar, unites the kingdoms of Gondor and Arnor, marries Arwen. There's healing, rebuilding. The hobbits eventually go home.
Back to the peaceful Shire.
Well, not quite peaceful at first. They find Saruman, bizarrely, has taken refuge there and corrupted it, set up petty tyrants, the scouring of the Shire.
So they have one last fight.
One last fight. But they handle it themselves, using the courage and skills they learned. They liberate the Shire, restore its peace. It shows the war touched everywhere, but also that they'd grown. They could heal their own home.
So what does this all mean then? For Frodo especially, he saved the world, but at what cost?
That's the really poignant part. The story doesn't shy away from the cost. Frodo was wounded deeply, not just the finger, but psychically, spiritually. The Ringbearer's burden leaves scars that Middle-earth can't fully heal.
He doesn't find peace back home.
Not entirely. He carries the memory, the weight. So eventually he's granted passage. He sails away across the sea with Gandalf, Bilbo, Galadriel, Elrond to the Undying Lands.
Leaving the world he saved.
Leaving it behind. Seeking healing that Middle-earth can't offer. It's bittersweet, isn't it? A hero's reward that is also an exile.
It really is. So when we look back at the whole epic, what are the core themes shining through?
Oh, so many. Courage, definitely. Sacrifice. The corrupting nature of power and desire, that's huge. But also, maybe counterintuitively, the resilience of the small, the humble.
The hobbits changing the world.
Exactly. History being changed not just by kings and wizards, but by quiet, ordinary bravery, simple hearts doing extraordinary things. That's central, I think.
And friendship, loyalty. Sam's role is just immense.
Absolutely vital. Unwavering hope, too, even when everything looks lost. It really is, as Tolkien called it, a story of endings and beginnings, an age passing, a new one dawning, ordinary people caught up in epic events.
And maybe that's why it resonates so deeply with us, why it connects to you, the listener.
I think so. Because Frodo's journey, the whole fellowship story, it reminds us that, yeah, maybe even the smallest person can change the course of the future, that small acts of good matter.
That light can prevail, even against overwhelming darkness.
Through love, through selflessness, through just keeping going when you feel like you can't. That's a powerful, timeless message, isn't it?
What an incredible story. We've really only scratched the surface today, but hopefully we've hit some of the key moments, reinforced just how deep and powerful The Lord of the Rings is.
Definitely. And though the ring is gone, its lessons remain. Maybe think about Frodo's journey, the fellowship.
Yeah.
It encourages us to reflect on the burdens we carry, maybe, and the quiet bravery it takes to face our own challenges.
Yeah, that's a great thought. What small act of courage or loyalty might shift the balance in your own world? Something to ponder.
Indeed.
Thank you so much for joining us on this